In 2014, a state-of-the-art airplane carrying 239 people simply vanished from the sky. There was no distress call. There was no crash site found. And more than a decade later, we still don't know where it is. This is the story of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, the greatest aviation mystery of our time. It was the night of March 8, 2014. Flight MH370 lifted off from the runway in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on a routine overnight journey to Beijing, China. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members. There were families heading home, students on their way to school, business professionals, and young children. The weather was perfect. The plane, a modern Boeing 777, had a clean maintenance record. Everything about this flight was completely normal. At 1:19 in the morning, local time, the captain made the last confirmed radio transmission. His calm, professional voice came through the airwaves. "Good night, Malaysian 370. That was it. That was the last time anyone heard from the pilots or anyone else on that plane. Less than 1 minute later, MH370's transponder, the device that communicates its position to civilian air traffic control, went silent. On the radar screens, the icon representing the plane just blinked out of existence. It was gone. Air traffic controllers in both Malaysia and Vietnam were confused. They expected the plane to appear on Vietnam's radar any second. It never did. At first, officials thought it was just a temporary glitch, a technical delay. After all, modern planes don't just disappear. They are packed with sophisticated tracking and communication systems. But as the minutes ticked by and turned into agonizing hours, a sense of dread and panic began to set in. MH370 wasn't just late, it was missing. The initial search and rescue missions focused on the South China Sea, the area where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. But as the hours turned into days, something terrifying was discovered. Malaysian military radar, which is more powerful than civilian radar, had tracked an unidentified aircraft after MH370 disappeared. The data showed that the plane didn't crash right away. Instead, it made a sharp, deliberate turn to the west, flying back over the Malaysian peninsula. It continued across the Andaman Sea, and then, as it flew out of range of military radar, it vanished for a second time. This changed everything. This wasn't a simple accident. Someone or something had taken control of the plane and deliberately diverted it from its course. The communication systems were turned off and the plane was flown in a way that seemed designed to avoid detection. There was no emergency call, no warning, no explanation. The mystery deepened from a tragic accident to a baffling and sinister event. What followed was the largest, most complex, and most expensive search in aviation history. An international coalition of dozens of countries came together. They sent satellites, ships, advanced aircraft, and deep-sea submarines to scour the ocean. The search area was immense, covering millions of square miles. For weeks and then months, the world watched, hoping for a breakthrough. But there was nothing, no wreckage, no signals from the black boxes, no confirmed crash site. The vast expanse of the ocean kept its secrets. For the families of the 239 people on board, it was an unimaginable torture. They were gathered in hotels, waiting for any news, watching the press conferences, and clinging to every shred of hope. But as the search dragged on with no results, that hope began to fade, replaced by a slow, horrifying realization. No one had any answers. Their loved ones were gone, and nobody could tell them how, where, or why. Then there was a strange and confusing breakthrough. A British satellite company, Inmarsat, revealed that even after MH370 disappeared from all radar, it had continued to fly for hours. The plane's satellite communication system had been automatically sending hourly handshakes or pings to a satellite orbiting high above the Indian Ocean. These were not messages with content, just simple signals confirming the system was still powered on. They were proof that the plane had remained in the air, flying for at least 7 hours after its last contact. By analyzing the timing of these pings, investigators were able to calculate 2 possible flight paths, or arcs, one to the north over Asia and one to the south over the remote Indian Ocean. The northern route was quickly ruled out. A massive plane flying over so many countries would have been detected by military radar. That left only one terrifying possibility. MH370 had flown south, deep into one of the most remote and inhospitable parts of our planet, the southern Indian Ocean. It flew until it likely ran out of fuel and crashed into the water, a place where the ocean is miles deep, a place where any wreckage could sink and disappear forever. Over the years, a flood of theories has emerged, each trying to explain the unexplainable. Was it a catastrophic mechanical failure that disabled the crew and all communication systems at once? Was it a fire on board that created toxic smoke, incapacitating everyone? Or was it something far more deliberate? Many have focused on the pilots, suggesting a pilot hijacking scenario, but thorough investigations into their backgrounds have never produced a motive or concrete evidence. Was it a hijacking by an unknown third party? Or perhaps an accidental decompression that left the plane flying on autopilot with everyone on board unconscious? Each theory has its supporters, but none of them can explain every piece of the puzzle. Why were the communication systems disabled in such a specific sequence? Why did the plane fly for so many hours on such a precise yet bizarre new course? And most importantly, why was no distress signal ever sent? A few years after the disappearance, pieces of debris confirmed to be from MH370 began washing up on the coastlines of Africa and islands in the Indian Ocean, thousands of miles from the search area. A piece of the wing, called a flaperon, part of a tail section, and other fragments. This confirmed that the plane did indeed end its journey in the Indian Ocean, but even these fragments couldn't tell the full story. They couldn't tell us what happened inside that cockpit. They couldn't tell us why. For the families left behind, the pain is a constant presence. They have no graves to visit, no bodies to mourn, no final answers to give them closure. Their lives are stuck in a state of suspended grief, haunted by endless questions. Was the end quick and painless, or were their loved ones aware of what was happening? Could this tragedy have been prevented? For them, MH370 isn't just a memory. It's an open wound that has never been allowed to heal. And this leads us to the question that still haunts the entire world. In an age of constant connection, GPS tracking, and global surveillance, how can a massive Boeing 777 airliner simply vanish without a trace? The disappearance of MH370 exposed a shocking vulnerability in our modern world. It proved that despite all our technology, there are still blank spots on the map, places where we are flying blind. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 is more than just a historical event. It remains an active mystery. It's a chilling reminder that some questions may never be answered. The search for the main wreckage continues, driven by private companies and the unwavering determination of the families. They still hope that one day the plane will be found and the truth will finally come to light. Until then, the 239 souls on board remain lost, and the world continues to ask, what really happened to MH370? Thanks for watching. If you found this story as compelling as we do, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries.